My new Vodafone broadband router. It is a router. If you're American, you'll call it a router, but I'm not American, I'm English, and therefore I call it a router. So we're going to open the box up, take a look inside, and then I'm going to plug it into the Mac, and we'll go through some of the settings in the firmware. So let's get on with it. So on opening the box, you can see there's a quick start guide here. Installing this is pretty straightforward. You're just going to unplug your existing router from the phone line. You might have these filters in place here. If you have got the filter there, you can replace it with a new one if you want to. And then you just plug in the router into the existing sockets that your current router is using, if you've got one. And again, open up the box. We've got here a quick start guide, and then we've got the router itself, which is it's quite big actually. Does it need to be that big? Okay, it's a Broadcom, I believe. It's for the hardware in this, so it actually looks very similar to a BT router by design. And on the back here, you can see your Wi-Fi name, Wi-Fi password, the admin password, etc. So we can get into this and have a look at the settings. So yeah, it's a router, nothing exciting. These generic kind of routers sent by ISPs are never very exciting. So I'm going to get it plugged in, we're going to get the settings up on the Mac, and then we'll go through what you can do with it. Okay, so I'm going to go through the range of options available to you with the Vodafone router. To get into the control panel, we need to go to the IP address of 192.168.1.1. Just type that into your browser and press return. When you're presented with the logon screen, the default password is Vodafone, all in lower caps. And remember, Vodafone is spelled F-O-N-E, not P-H-O-N-E. And we're going to log in. Okay, so the first thing it's saying to me here is I need to change my default password. I'm not going to do that at the moment for the benefit of the video. I want to go through some of the settings in here and explain what they are and what they do. So first of all, let's have a look at internet. Now at the moment I'm not actually connected to the internet. I've disconnected my router from the internet for various reasons. But you can see here we've got the firewall. And this is blocking certain ports in and out of your home network to prevent people from being able to get access to it when you might not want them to. And as you can see here, the default setting is the firewall is turned on, and that's definitely recommended. And then we have here allow ping to WAN interface. Now allow ping to WAN interface means that you can externally from another network ping your IP address to see whether or not you can reach your router from outside of your network. Ordinarily, for security, you just leave that switched off. Okay, then we go into the Wi-Fi settings here. You've got your general settings, so the Wi-Fi network, this is obviously on, and enable Wi-Fi on-off button on the Vodafone broadband. Moving into the Wi-Fi settings, you can see here the Wi-Fi network is enabled. I'm not using the split SSID. You can do that. You can turn this on, and you can split the Wi-Fi between devices that are 2.4 gigahertz compliant and those which are 5 gigahertz compliant. Generally you wouldn't need to do this unless you've got particularly older devices on your network, so ordinarily you wouldn't be splitting the SSID. You can also activate a second Wi-Fi channel and give that a separate name. So for example, if you've got children in the house and you want to be able to control when they are able to use the Wi-Fi, you could just give them access to Wi-Fi 2, give them their own SSID and password, and then it enables you then to simply log in and turn that off if you don't want them to have access to it. And you could also do that if you have guests that come around to your house and you want to give them access to your Wi-Fi as well. So that's quite a nice option with this router. Not many out-of-the-box ISP routers have that, and I quite like that option. Moving on to schedule, and it is what you would expect. Oh, let's cancel that. There we go. You can schedule the time that your Wi-Fi is enabled. So again, if your children, you want to say, right, it's 8 o'clock, get off the Wi-Fi, you can set a schedule in there so that they can't go on it after 8 o'clock in the evening. So that's quite a nice feature as well. And again, not that many ISP out-of-the-box modems or routers have that option. Then we've got the WPS function as well, which is a button on the side of the router which you can press to enable WPS enabled devices to connect to your router without needing to know the password, and you can turn that off if you want to. Right, going into sharing, and here we have, this is file sharing on the network. There is a USB device socket on the side of the router. You can plug in an external hard drive or USB drive into that and use that for some network storage. Going into settings, and you can change your Vodafone router default password here, and as mentioned already, that is defaulted to Vodafone. And then onto energy settings, and you can enable or disable certain functions on the router's lighting to reduce power if you want to. For example, if you're not using a USB port, you can turn that off, and I'm not, so I'm going to. There's a status LED which you can turn on and off as well. Default, that is off. There's also a power LED which you can turn off as well. The power LED, I actually quite like it because it's handy to see that you've actually got, well, would you believe it, power going to the router. So I'm going to leave that on. And you can also adjust the brightness as well of the LED that flashes, and this looks pretty cool, the Vodafone router, actually, when it's on. The bottom bar underneath the router glows and looks pretty cool. I like the way that it looks, if you can get excited about how a router looks. So that is an overview of the settings within the Vodafone router. There are more advanced settings. If we go into expert mode up here, you can start getting much more into the settings of the router. For example, there are such things as a LAN public page. So you could manage the details of any multiple static IP addresses that you might have within your network. IP4 addresses, you can assign IP addresses to particular devices within your network if you want to. I find that's quite helpful with smart plugs and smart bulbs. They seem to get a bit upset with DHCP, so assigning them a fixed IP address definitely seems to help them work properly. And while we're in the advanced menu, we can also look back through Wi-Fi as well. You've got the MAC filter here, so you can filter in and out devices on the network according to their MAC address. And there's also different options as well for your 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi modes, and you can adjust the settings in here if you want to, but ordinarily that would only be for advanced users, and you would normally leave those settings alone. Going into the internet on advanced settings or expert mode, there are some options here. For example, it looks as though there's a possibility of adding a 3G or 4G mobile dongle to this device. This might be something that Vodafone are going to look at in the future. BT have recently introduced this for their business hubs and smart home hubs, and it means that if the internet connection goes down on the landline, the 4G takes over to continue giving you service. I wonder if that's something that Vodafone will introduce in the future. Then we've also got here DNS settings. Again, ordinarily you would leave these alone. You can have a dynamic DNS if you want to. You'll need to have an account for that. Someone like, or there's various providers, the name of which I can't remember off the top of my head. And then again, you can assign static NAT addresses, manage ports, do port forwarding, etc. Again, ordinarily you wouldn't need to change any of those, but if you do, for example, if you want to set up an IP camera or something along those lines, you can go into port management here, and you can set up port mapping to allow certain ports through your firewall to certain devices on your network. Anyway, that's an overview of the firmware and the settings on the Vodafone router.
One thing I will say about this router, when I saw it, I saw these two screw locators holes in, so I thought, oh brilliant, that means I'll be able to screw it into the wall and hang it up somewhere, and that would be great, but they've put this stupid stand on the bottom that you can't remove, so there's no way you can put that flush against the wall. It'd have to sit like that, which would just, I don't know, I suppose they've done that because of the Ethernet ports, but they could have given me a chance to remove the stand. That's a bit crap.
I hope you found this video to be of some use and it enabled you to have a good look around what to expect with your Vodafone router when you receive it. I have to say, in terms of comparing this to my previous BT and Sky routers, the Vodafone router does seem to be a little bit more advanced in terms of the options it gives you, and I do really like the idea of being able to have two Wi-Fi networks on one router. As always, thanks for watching, and please feel free to like and subscribe if you feel like you can do so.